are retail.
Just 1 second.
We are retailing their stories through our patented designs that can be worn on.
Well, I ain't no Albert Einstein, but I feel that something's wrong. Yes, it is. Ain't no Albert Einstein, but I feel that something's wrong. Yes, it is. No, I ain't no Albert Einstein. I just feel that something's wrong.
MedBix Webcast is a new kind of healthcare media channel to break the silo mentality and foster interdisciplinary thinking. Our mission is to fill that gap and to create a curiosity through different lenses, tapping the passion that guided the historical figures in medicine and bringing present-day groundbreaking research to the front lines. We interview physicians and leaders in the industry about present-day healthcare challenges on our live programming.
Hello, welcome to the MedBix. We have some technical problem. I don't know that this is something I need to check on that. But anyway, thank you. Welcome to the MedBix webcast. This is Raman Anamaraju. I'm the host. That we're going to talk with. Actually, the month of April, I have an excellent guest. The coming up is Susan Davis, a good friend of mine. She's going to talk about CPR training and all those things, nurse training in the hospitals. She's going to talk about a little bit about that. And then after that, I'm going to have a Catherine Hansen. She's coming a menopause for a woman. I'm not a woman, but she's going to talk about menopause and then also empowering the woman circle. How do you deal with emotions, hormonal emotions, physical, mental emotions? How do you deal with it? She's going to be OBGYN doctor. She's a wife of an astronaut who is going to be on the moon. Actually, she's going to join from Houston, Texas. And then after that I have a Dr. Abhijay Wamatola. He is a law enforcement, and then a lot of things. People are being called for a lot of emergencies. They are not really is a psychological issues rather than a criminal issue. So they find a demarcation between those two. So he's going to shed some light on those things. Then after that, guest of honor, Robert Perr is one of my, that he is one of the well sought out speaker, renowned speaker, world famous doctor, former CEO of Kaiser Permanente, is going to join with us with his new book, Chart GPT MD. AI things, that's and then after that I have a Karen. One of the pediatric, diabetes is exploding in the world. So I'm going to talk with a diabetic food specialist. He's been he's a podiatrist. He's been in that practice for 40 years, so he can shed some light on it. Then after that, special on April 27th is binaural beats. You know what those beats are, very interesting. So if you between our brain can listen between the have a two beats, but it creates an illusion third beat. Brain creates an illusion of a third beat. If you listen to that, so you get calm down and you can do other things. It's a mental relaxation. I didn't know that, but anyway, these are all going on. And then the present guest now is Susan Davis. Susan Davis is a doctor of nursing practice. I didn't know that exists like a doctor of nursing practice, but she is a RN, doctor of nursing practice, and she is a leader in the CPR training, Code Blue training. She trains in hospitals, other nurses. She's educator and a podcast host now. So without a further ado, we'll ask her who doesn't want to. She has a cattle. She raises cattle and she saves lives. Who doesn't want to talk with her? Let me bring her to the table.
That's quite the introduction, Ramana. Thank you so very much.
Welcome, Susan. You're a good friend of mine for a long time. Tell us a little bit about your background. So one more time, been on the podcast several times with me. So go ahead, tell us.
Yeah. So, hello, everybody. This is my, I don't know, fourth, maybe fifth time, I don't know, Romana show, because again, who doesn't want a bestie that is a physicist? I recommend it to everybody. So who am I? I am Dr. Susan Davis. I am a resuscitation education specialist, pardon me. In-hospital cardiac arrest tends to be my gig, but I have recently pivoted to the public space and I am loving that. So everything resuscitation, whether it's from your living room to where you work or in the hospital, honestly, it's all the same thing. If you have a heart, you qualify. Cardiac arrest doesn't care where you are, who you are, what your experience is, or what your job title is. It just cares you know what to do in those first few minutes. So that's what I do. That's why I'm here. That's what I like to talk about. I like to talk about cardiac arrest response, knowing what to do, knowing how to recognize the problem, call for help, and act. Whatever that means, wherever you are.
Yeah, just let me bring you a little bit. Okay. So, Susan, I wanted to ask you, so CPR training, I see that, American Red Cross provides a lot of training of CPR training, cardiac pulmonary resuscitation training. But, that's not enough. People die at homes, they die on the way to the work, they die in different places. In the hospital itself, sometimes they die. So, we have any comprehensive way address these problems? What the government does, local level, at the state level, at the federal level? Just give us a rundown of the little bit of that process, a little bit for us.
Okay, so first of all, that was a huge question. What are we doing about cardiac arrest? Absolutely everywhere in the world. Really good question, and the answer is no singular thing. It takes a city, it takes a community, it takes a system to save a life. So accumulatively, I mean, it all starts with compressions and electricity. I mean, when it comes to cardiac arrest, that is compressions and electricity. And again, that doesn't matter where you are. So what does that mean in the community? It means massive hands-only CPR and AED awareness, AED registry, telephone CPR. Now that's something that I work with. I work with the Citizen CPR Foundation, which is a national foundation. We actually also work globally. If people want to help with the same type stuff around the world, we help them as well. So I love that. And what is that about? That's about sharing resources to make sure that your entire community can get quote unquote certified as a heart safe community, which pulls in together an entire municipality. So this is the outside world, right? So we're talking about K through 12, adult continuing education, all your schools, all your fire department, all your EMS, all your hospitals, your businesses, and so forth. They decide to come together and say, hey, listen, enough's enough. Our rates aren't like we want them to be. We're not hitting the numbers that are good enough for like my family member to live there. So we're going to do more. And then we dump all our stuff on one table and we share duties and say, listen, compressions and electricity, what is it going to look like in your neck of the woods? And so the Citizen CPR Foundation Heart Safe Initiative, we do that. And then since your question was so twofold, threefold, fourfold, in the hospital, we do the same thing. We have regulations and we have things we have to meet to keep our standards more than compliance, right? Because compliance says that you had your CPR class, back in high school, and that's cool.
You told me last time, if I was talking, I remember. So even in the hospital, this is not the training is itself is a little bit of there is a black holes in the the training itself is not a uniform everywhere. So all the departments may not have equipped with that kind of a training. So you say last time, tell us a little bit about that. Only ICU people, everybody thinks that once you have a heart attack, people go to the hospital, they save automatically lives. But heart attacks can happen within the hospital, some other departments. Tell us a little bit about that process, how it works. And
okay, so again, cardiac arrest doesn't care where you are. So it doesn't care if you're in the ICU, the ER, or in the middle of the hospital. It doesn't care. So it's going to happen. So we must be prepared. And to your question, how do we do that beyond compliance? So right now, the standards in America, let's just say, and most of the world, is a provider card that says we've had the foundational training once every 2 years. And even the American Heart, ILCOR, all the biggies, they say that that's not enough, right? That in between those 2 years, there needs to be brief, hands-on, repetitive practice. And we have that. We have that. The American Heart has that. They have Red Cross as well. Most people do. They have some systems in place that say, You need to practice a little bit more often. Here's where I find a little bit of a gray area and a big gap. And the gap is in our regulating bodies. Our regulating bodies like JACO or DMV, they have what's called, resuscitation standards. They were just redone in 2022, 21, 2020, 22. And then I think 2019 before that. And I'm not sure how far behind that. But how and when do hospitals have to implement that beyond compliance? That's the big question. That's kind of where I am today in my research. Where do we go from compliance and outcomes when there are recommendations rather than laws or rules that must be implemented? Where does the buck stop? Like, if we're not meeting those outcomes, where does the buck stop?
Yeah, that's important. It is not just the regulations alone. You need all the resources. The community has to gather all the resources, put together, and work together to solve this major problem. This is going to be huge problem. This work for example, what about you said that one of the things is the transport to the hospital within 8 minutes or 12 minutes. We need to be there in the hospital. That's what they say, right? To save lives. Now, the new things are coming up, new advances. Tell us a little bit about new advance that ECMO there's a few minutes ago before the.
Oh my goodness. So a bit out of my personal expertise, but I try to stay on top of what's happening in resuscitation. But yeah, there's some super cool things. I mean, it's recognize the problem, call for help, begin compressions, and use your electricity. Those are the standards. That's the standard. But once you get inside the hospital walls, what do we do from there? There's arrest care and there's post-arrest care. So from the moment you're in the ambulance, from your living room to the ambulance, there's an expectation of care. And right now you would think it's good compressions, good electricity, good handling of their advanced care as well, beyond compressions and electricity, like into the drug aspect and into the intubation and advanced life support. That's all expected in our ambulances. And then when you get in the hospital, the expectation goes up even higher, where we are going to have top notch, care, not only compressions and electricity and drugs, but then what? So ECMO, you brought that up. That's kind of a new thing. It's not a new thing, but it's a new thing in pre-hospital. So ECMO is extracorporeal membrane oxygenation. And it's kind of like people are used to a ventilator being the lungs for a patient, and I am no expert, by the way. If any of my ECMO friends are out there, please get me on this later. But ECMO becomes like the lungs and the heart all at once, but it's fairly invasive. It's a machine that goes into the groin, up into the heart, and it does the work of the heart and the lungs so that our heart and our lungs and our brain, can chillax, if you will, from the insult of the cardiac arrest. And the machine kind of does the work while the body heals. But they're now doing that in transport. I mean, this is like in my personal work, hands-on, I've worked with ECMO in cardiac care and the transplant unit. And it was like this big deal. And now it's a huge deal. They're moving it into transport. They're moving it into flight. They're making this thing smaller and smaller and more happen. They're having fantastic results. Of course, right now, it's not feasible for mass spreading for just the size and the cost and all that stuff, but it's coming and it's having amazing results. There's people in our country who are doing amazing things with cardiac arrest.
Don't you think there is a natural extension, hospital going home? For example, congestive heart failures patients, they're doing ICU at home. Medicare started the program and then they abandoned because it requires too many resources. But it was a one time. With the AI, they will implement that back again. That hospital at home, ICU, managing the ICU at home. That is a very interesting concept. I don't know how far that you would think of is the right way of doing or anything like that. What is your opinion on that?
I don't have any problem with healthcare at home. I love healthcare at home, but I think there's also a place where, again, I think there's a fine line there. I mean, the resources, the mindset, the skill set of those who regulate ICU are, let me just talk about nurses. This is the rock star of the rock stars. This is the top bun. Our critical care people, our intensivists and our intensive care nurses, they have intensive education and experience with machines and drips that are beyond your comprehension for something that would be at home. I mean, I'm not talking about one drip or two drips. I can see that at home. But these ICU teams, These ICU nurses, they have drips upon drips upon drips. There's 15 of them, and they're all calibrated into a millimeter of a millimeter for how much volume these patients can handle. And then the pharmacy works with that nurse to create every medication they need and every drip they need into the smallest possible dose, because these patients can't handle fluids. So ICU at home, yeah, I guess so. I mean, I guess everything can be at home at some point, but how do you get those resources there yet? That's just beyond me. But I mean, I love at home, but I think at a certain point, I mean, that's what healthcare is for, right? I mean, don't we need them for the intensive care stuff, and maybe everything in between they could go home? I don't know.
Yeah, let us talk about that. Just now you spoke about the pressure that ICU nurses go through. Let us talk about their advocacy. How much mental pressures they have? Do they have these mental health issues because of that constant pressure they have? Tell us a little bit, address that problem of nurses having a mental health, challenging critical care situations. Just can you give us some light on that?
You know, there's a lot of discussion around mental health and nursing, but I would extend that to any healthcare provider or non-healthcare provider that works in an intensive situation. You know, we go there. That's our job. It's like saying that somebody in the military, you know, we're all susceptible to mental health ups and downs. And a good friend of mine, you know, Dr. Michael Frazina, he talks about, you know, being in your upper brain versus your lower brain. So I don't think it matters what your job description is. If you can stay in your upper brain and manage that rather than going to, you know what, I don't have an answer for you other than it comes with the territory. And there absolutely must be resources for the nurses and healthcare providers that work in that intense area, because we do see in the ED and the ICU, the buns of the hospital, we see, you know, death, where they're coming to us because it's death, life or death quite often. And so there's a certain amount of thick skin that we have of being in that position in the first place. There's a lot of education that puts us there, because we are the type of people that not only want to be there, but can be there, because that's how our brains work. We are critical care people because we feed and nurture not only that patient and the family, but our team based on our knowledge. And so we want to be there. But I do agree with you that there's an intensity that should always be supported by, you know, mental health safety nets, if you will. But I recommend the upper brain, lower brain situation, because staying in the upper brain is highly recommended.
Okay. You know, I was following Dr. Senator Bill Frist. You know, he's a former senator from Tennessee. What he did was he posted one story about it. One day he was walking around somewhere with his wife or somebody, and all of a sudden somebody got a heart attack while riding a bike, and then immediately he provided compressions and saved him. But you know, he was looking for the machine where the hospital is, the AED, the electricity, as you are talking about. So he could not find. I was telling that I designed a app that can find the AEDs where they are at, the GPS locations. So what do you think of that idea of we're putting the AEDs, defibrillators around the city, in the parks and everywhere, putting that? What is your opinion on that?
Well, we're doing that, and there's several companies out there that are doing amazing things in that area. Not only do we have AEDs, we have AED cabinets that'll be okay in, you know, high heat or low cold, you know, cold or hot, humidity, plugged in, not plugged in. They have those, but they're called AED registries, and there's many of them. There's many of the AEDs that are coming out today and or existing AEDs that are actually connected to our, you know, 911. You know, call in dispatch, so telephone CPR. So we do have telephone and AED registries that connects the 911 call to the AED, and there's more than one out there that does that. So we are doing that, and we are working with communities around the country and the world that connects that phone call to the closest AED to your location. We can do that now.
Just you're talking about calls. Let us talk about 911 call. People always call. First thing is 911 call and say somebody is having a heart attack. And so what the process, just give us a little bit rundown on that process, Susan.
Yeah, so you know, I'm not an expert in that, but telephone CPR is one of our 13 parameters in the Heart Safe initiative. But telephone CPR is huge. What I can tell you about it is 60 to 70% of calls that come into 911 are not medical. You know, they're a call for help from police. So that 911 dispatcher has to, 1,000, 1,000, decide and decipher quickly whether it's a police call or a medical call. Then they have to reroute the call to the medical division. And I will go ahead and say right now at this point that you should know that throughout our country, not everybody has, jam up 911 operators hanging out. It's a job that needs to be filled. There's some of our rural areas in our country have a very hard time filling that role. The person that's answering the 911 call. Can you even imagine? Like if we live in metropolitan areas, if you don't, you live rurally, that job might not be filled. So anyway, I digress, but 60, 70%, the call has to be routed between PD or medical. Then it goes into medical. And again, I'm no expert, but from there, the call has to be deciphered whether it is a cardiac arrest for real or not. So I can tell you, I can share that I learned at the Citizen CPR Foundation, our summit, which we do every 2 years out in San Diego, which I was in November. I learned that there's a giant science project going on right now, research happening between King County out in Seattle and Denmark. They have an AI intervention that they've been putting together, and they've been feeding in hundreds of thousands of positive cardiac arrest calls. And you can imagine what that call sounds like, right? My husband, my son, I think, I'm not sure, like all those calls with the noise and the AI is learning the difference between a real cardiac arrest versus I'm having chest pain, or I'm having, acid reflux, or, I fell and hurt my chest earlier. I've been coughing, I've been sick, whatever. But you can imagine the difference between AI in seconds now being able to be a decision support. Now it's not replacing the human, but it pops up as a decision support to the same human who, may or may not have had a bad night, maybe slept 2 hours instead of 9 because of whatever happened in their life. But every second counts, right? So we started with a possible seconds delay from, is it PD or is it medical? And now we have to decipher that operator has to decipher if this call is for really a cardiac arrest or not. So lots happening in telephone CPR. Not only that, they have certification on top of certification for how to direct CPR through the phone. They're doing big things in telephone CPR.
So you're talking about AI in the cardiac arrest. I'm going to present a topic on the AI out of this world that is really so advanced, so it can predict any disease way in advance. That's a future of medicine. I'm going to present a topic. After that, I will come back and talk with you about your training and how this the whole thing is how is the rescue or your company provides the training to the hospitals and to the people in a comprehensive way. We'll talk about it. So I'm going to present a topic on the AI, kind of related AI. It started a long time ago. So that let me present that topic. Okay. So you and me going to watch together. This is I'm going to bring you.
First of all, I love the word condensate. I'm excited. Is that a fluid?
It's not a word. It's a word, but
it's not.
It is actually the whole thing is not a word. The whole thing is a state of matter. It is just they didn't come up with physicists don't know how to put the names.
Yeah, but there's solid, there's gas. Okay, I get it. Okay, and liquid. So condensate is
some kind of a strange material. I'm going to talk about that in a minute.
Okay. I'm gonna listen and learn.
Yeah. So this is a Bose-Einstein condensate. It's a BEC, that Susan is talking about just now, how the AI can predict, that by talking, analyzing the data. But there is another kind of prediction you can do, self-whisperer at the cellular level. If something anomaly going on, this is I call BEC, Bose-Einstein condensate, a state of matter. It is a self-whisperer. It can listen to the slightest changes years before. And then that's why I call that as a cell whisperer. That's a Bose-Einstein condensate. What is that? I'm going to. So it's a Dominique Lapierre is a French. Dominique Lapierre is a French. 1 second. I'm going to have to do these two things here. Dominique Lapierre is a French novelist. He wrote a book, a runaway hit bestseller book. It's called The City of Joy, about a city in India. It's called Calcutta. he was in that book is a fictional book. In that book, a disillusioned American doctor, and then a priest from France, and then rickshaw puller from India. They strange union together and they build a clinic in India, in Calcutta, city of Calcutta. You know, so that used to be. Now they changed the name after the British are gone. We changed the name to Kolkata, but it's actually Calcutta was the name of that. So he wrote a book. He just Dominic Lapierre is a French author. He recently died. Actually, last year he died. He was living 95 years. He was living. He lived a long time. That is actually adopted into movie City of Joy, and Patrick Swayze was actor. That's one of the best movies. When you get a chance, please watch that movie. Is adopted into the City of Joy, a city about building the most in the slums of Calcutta, building clinic and saving lives. That is the story about it, and it is a beautiful story. The reason I'm talking about that city is another. Their city is the Calcutta is a city of intellectuals. It's not just a. It's not just a. See, this is a city. Calcutta was a vibrant culture. They have a lot of culture there. These are the Rabindranath Tagore is a poet. He won the Nobel Prize for his poetry. In fact, on the Rabindranath Tagore, the Jagadish Chandra Bose. Next one is actually polymath of India. He was the inventor almost. He was the father of semiconductors, and he gave a lot of Wi-Fi. He was inventing long way before the Western world catching up. So then all of from the same city. Then another philosopher, Vivekananda, is a Swami Vivekananda came to Chicago. He inspired the entire Western generations about the Hindu religion, Hindu philosophy. And the last one I'm going to talk about him from same city, Calcutta. I'm going to talk about him. His name is his name is yeah, Sachendranath Bose, a long name. He was born in 1894. He was born in seven sisters. He had seven sisters. He's only one guy. So among the seven sisters, he was born in. So the astrologer told him, there is an astrologer told him he's going to be the world famous. That is everybody writes astrology in India. They take the date at the time, and then they put the stars and they write astrology. I had astrology, so that is it's interesting. So while he's doing that, while he's growing up, there is another revolution going on in the West. It's a quantum revolution. What is the quantum revolution? It is Albert Einstein was actually invented the photoelectric effect. He was the person who talked about a quanta. The light itself is not a wave, is a particle. It travels in a discrete quantities. That's why this quanta is a quantities. It's a German word, quanta. So it's a discrete packets. It travels. That is about the light travels in discrete packets. That's a quanta. Quanta is talking about. Then Niels Bohr and Werner Heisenberg. They are the two people gave a very full description of the atomic world, and then Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. Niels Bohr. They are both of them from Copenhagen. They gave a full description. The last one is a Paul Dirac. Actually, he killed it. Paul Dirac is the another one who is. These are the foundations. There are a few other people, but these are the really important figures in the quantum physics. Paul Dirac actually died in Tallahassee. He was a professor in Tallahassee. He died. He was the inventor of he was inventor of he discovered the parallel. He discovered the positron antimatter. PET CT scan was is the father of the PET CT scan in my view. So he created equations for that. So they were working on the quantum revolution. What is quantum? What is a quantum? Everybody talks about quantum. What is that quantum? I'm going to tell you a story. This is a story. Think like a story, so you don't need to go into technical part of it. That's why I want to keep it simple for doctors. So, the quantum physics is talking about physics of the small electrons, protons, neutrons, photons, the light particles. We're talking about these things. So the particles can be small. So what is a special? These particles, or you're talking about small particles, can be they can be in two places same time. It's a very counterintuitive thought. Multiple places it can be in same time. It is not. That's very counterintuitive thought. And then electrons can go through the wall, and then without breaking the wall. Electron is a matter. Matter goes through from both the one side to the other side without breaking the wall. How is it possible? Quantum tunneling, that is called. These are the very counterintuitive ideas. In the beginning days it was a big problem. Okay, so if you take a physics of the big, if a Susan cannot be in two places same time, right? She cannot be in two places at the same time.
Watch me.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So that will be here very soon. So holograms possible. The second one is I don't know whether she has that dress or not, but the second one, she cannot go through the walls without breaking it. She can break the wall and go through other side. She may be strong enough. But yeah, we'll talk with her about that. Hey, Susan, tell me. So these are the counterintuitive, the physics of the big. We are confused with this big, a very counterintuitive idea of the quantum physics. That was created a lot of problems for a lot of physicists in the beginning days. So they were they started infighting. In the physicists also fight. Infighting, there's infighting started it. The older guy said that, this sounds very cuckoo, including Albert Einstein said that it's a cuckoo. It looks like a spooky action at distance, he called. Either they all cuckoo with two places same time in the matter, or going through the wall without breaking it. It does all cuckoo. They're all some of the people. They started. The younger guy said that, oh, we don't care about. Doesn't matter what they do. We want to know. That's how we don't care how they do it. We want to get the results and then shut up and calculate. That's what they said. Younger, like all the younger physicists, the against the older physicists. There's kind of two camps. They were fighting. In fact, they were fighting in a physics way in Solvay conference. Albert Einstein, he was the founder of the quantum physics, but he didn't like this kind of a strange idea of a counterintuitive ideas. The particle could be in the two places same time. A matter could be in two places in same time. So that was a problem for Albert Einstein. So what happened was there was a So they cannot get in. They cannot know what they're doing. How can be in two places same time? They cannot visualize. They have no access. Access is denied for them. The nature prohibits not to knowing what they're doing when they're going to be in two places same time. That is just a mind-boggling for people. So that's why Albert Einstein did not like it. He wants to find out the solution. He calls hidden variables, but I don't want to go into the physics of it. But he was looking for some solutions. This cuckoo stuff, he wanted to put a stop to the cuckoo stuff, and he was looking for solutions. Then that man that I introduced in the beginning from Calcutta sent a letter. His name is Sachendranath Bose. I told you he was born in 1924. He was 30 years old. He sent a letter to Einstein. Respected sir, I have ventured to send you the accompanying article for your perusal and opinion. What you think of it? That's what he sent an article about it. Then he sent an article about something that interesting. Albert Einstein, what he was saying is in that article that there is a loophole in the nature. The nature, we can find out what they're doing we can find out what they're doing in secret. The particle secret life of the particles we can find out. So there is a way to do it. He said that so Einstein liked it, that idea, because he wants to expose this is all bogus cuckoo stuff that he thought in the beginning. So yes, he loved the idea, and then he sent a mathematical paper saying that there is a loophole in the nature. He's an Indian, remember? So he found the loophole, and then he wanted to exploit the loophole. So Einstein took that paper and published it in Germany. Nobody was listening to Sachendranath Bose in India. He said he's out of he's beyond our heads. So when he sent this paper, Einstein loved it and published it. He translated it into German language and published it. And it eventually became Bose-Einstein statistics. It's called Bose-Einstein statistics. What is this? What did he send it? What he said is this. It is actually way to find out, way to secret life of the particle, way to find out is embedded in the kind of a Mexican wave. In the ball games you do Mexican wave, that you can see from the plane, that all of them waving at the same time. That wave, if somebody alien looking from a planet, other planet, he saw the wave, only you can see the wave, he can detect from that wave would there's our hands up there. So that they can do, because it's every time it's nothing is there. So the alien looking at from other planets can see that somebody is raising the hand, something in the ball games. So that is that you can detect a different way, like a Mexican wave, that you can detect then find out a way finding out these atoms what they do in secret. So I'm going to play a video. Okay, that's a video I'm going to play. That will tell you what that is.
Quantum theory was emerging as the best hope of understanding these strange phenomena. Its central idea was that atoms do not always behave like individual particles. Sometimes they merge together and behave like waves. They can also be particles and waves at the same time. Even for great minds like Albert Einstein, this strange paradox was hard to accept. In 1925, a young Indian physicist, Satyendra Bose, sent Einstein a paper he'd been unable to publish. Bose had attempted to apply the mathematics of how light particles behave to whole atoms. Einstein realized the importance of this concept and did some further calculations. He predicted that on reaching extremely low temperatures, just a hair above absolute zero, it might be possible to produce a new state of matter that followed quantum rules. It would not be a solid or liquid or gas. It was given a name almost as strange as its properties: a Bose-Einstein condensate. For the next 70 years, people could only dream about making such a condensate, which has never been seen in nature.
Matter can exist in various states. Atoms at high temperature always form gases. If you cool the gas, it becomes a liquid. If you cool the liquid, it becomes a solid. But under certain circumstances, if you cool atoms far enough to extremely low temperatures, they undergo a very strange transformation. They undergo an identity crisis. So let me show you what I mean by an identity crisis. When you go to low temperatures, the quantum mechanical properties of the atoms become important. These are very strange, very unfamiliar to us, but in fact, each one of these atoms starts to display wave-like properties. So instead of points like that, you have little wave packets like that moving around. It's really difficult for me to explain just why that is, but that's the way it is. Now, as you go to very low temperatures, the size of these packets gets longer and longer and longer. And then suddenly, if you get them cold enough, they start overlapping. And when they overlap, the system behaves not like individual particles, but particles which have lost their identity. They all think they're everywhere. This little wave packet over here can't tell whether it's this one or that one or that one or that one or that one or that. It's there and it's there and it's there. They're all in one great big quantum state. They're all overlapping. They're all doing the same thing. And what they're doing, to a good approximation, is they're simply sitting at rest. This Bose-Einstein condensate is very difficult to imagine or to visualize. I can imagine what it's like to be an atom running around gaily, freely, bouncing into things, sometimes going fast, sometimes going slow. But on the Bose condensate, I'm everywhere at once. I've lost my identity. I don't know who I am anymore. I'm at rest, and all the other atoms around at rest, but they're not other atoms around. We're all just one great big quantum system. There's nothing else like that in physics, and certainly not in human experience. So just to think about this causes me wonder and confusion.
Okay, So that's what he found out. So what he did was that that is a yeah. Now, so he found a loophole. What he did was you can certain temperatures, if you lower the temperatures all the way to the absolute zero, if you do that, all the atoms becomes, you can add multiple atoms, becomes big enough, you can see and observe it, what they do in secret. So you can cool it all the way to the absolute zero temperature. Then it behave, one big atom behave quantum properties it shows, because it's a one particle. They, or even though they have multiple particles, they behave like a one. So that has to be exhibit the quantum phenomena. So they know how to be in two places same time. We can find out. That is the reason Einstein loved it. But it is a great idea. But the only problem with that is called Bose-Einstein condensate. Liquid, you take a plasma, liquid, solid, gas, the solid. After that, if you cool it enough, close to the absolute zero temperature, the coldest spot in the universe, you have to go to the coldest spot in the universe, close to that absolute zero, that you need to go there. You see that Bose-Einstein condensate. Idea is excellent. In theory, it's a wonderful theory, but how do you achieve that? How do you lower the temperature to the coldest spot in the universe? In theory, yes. Absolute zero is impossible to achieve. In practical, no. That's what they thought. And and that is been accepted fact for a long time. All of them are died, including Sachendranath Bose, Albert Einstein, Niels Bohr, Sachendranath Bose, Werner Heisenberg, Paul Dirac. They all died, they without knowing what that the strange kind of a matter exists or not. But what happened was, after 25 years after the death of Sachendranath Bose, June 5th, 1995, early morning, in the morning of June 5th, 1995, the Eric Cornell and the Wolfgang Ketterle and the Wolfgang Ketterle and they found Carl Wieman, all three of them achieved the impossible. They created the first Bose-Einstein condensate in the lab. They actually a matter. It is a fifth state of matter they created in the lab in the Boulder, Colorado. They created this in the Colby. The people are Eric Cornell, Wolfgang Ketterle, and Carl Wieman in the Boulder, Colorado, of all the places in the world. They created this Bose-Einstein condensate on June 5th. It's a big, just one of the big news in the world of science. Because I tell you why it is a big news. Because impossible. Think about the 75 years ago or 50 years ago, this gentleman was thinking through mathematics that kind of a state exists. There's no proof. Can you believe that? That's a mind of a human genuinity. In after 75 years of his birth, then they found this matter, the exotic. They won the Nobel Prize. All of them won the Nobel Prize for the physics of that. Actually, there are a lot of Nobel Prizes indirectly given to the Bose-Einstein condensate research. This is such an exotic matter. If a light goes through it, okay, and then it stops, almost you can put the light into the grinding halt. Light travels 186,000 miles per second. It goes from the light comes from the sun to the earth 8 minutes. It's that fast, billions of miles. But think about that. But you can bring that light you can stop it through Bose-Einstein condensate. You can stop to the grinding halt. That's a very exotic matter, very strange. If you are immersed in the Bose-Einstein condensate, you are everywhere. Omnipresent, omnipotent, kind of a godly kind of character you are. That is a very strange material. So that there is a book was written. Bob Shaw is an author. He wrote a book called Shaw of Early Day, Light of the Day. Other Let me tell you what is this book. Yeah, Shaw, Other Laws and Other Eyes, Other Days and Other Eyes. A book. It's called. In that one, he explains a little bit strange about the world itself. If you have a Bose-Einstein condensate mirror, somehow that there is a glass, you will see you see you see 10 years it takes a 10 years to come other side, the light ray. So you will only see 10 years ago what they look like, a man with a wife and a children. But same time, then if you take the glass out, he is old and he is by himself. So it is just magically, Bose-Einstein condensate is like a magic glass. That's what it is. That is a very exotic and strange material. Bose-Einstein condensate is actually, there is a lot of research going on. There could be, they say, is it connected to the consciousness? Maybe so. If a soul is information content, if it escapes from the body, it may be through the Bose-Einstein condensate. There is a research done actually. There's an article, I will show it to you guys. But anyway, I don't want to go into cuckoo stuff. But that is a very, so astrologer prediction is exactly right. He became a world famous. Bose-Einstein became a really famous guy. You know why? So there was a 7 years ago or so, I forgot, 10 years almost. The Higgs boson was discovered. They called it a God particle. It's everywhere. God particles are everywhere. They create a field called Higgs bosonic field. The boson name came from him. Paul Dirac, the university professor from Tallahassee, gave that name to that particle, Higgs boson. So they named after him, after the Bose, because he is the one, he came up with this idea. So Higgs boson, that field is everywhere. You are in the Higgs field. We are made up of particles. So we are moving in a Higgs bosonic field. So you will see oceans inside oceanic field. You see that. That Higgs boson is inside of us, Higgs bosonic field. So his name is everywhere, not only inside of our body, outside of the body, entire universe is covered. Can you believe that? So the astrologer prediction is more than right, So it became a very famous. That is a. So what is a BEC in the medicine? It is an ultra sensitive, is cellular whisperer. What does that mean? If the Bose-Einstein condensate is so sensitive, any changes in the magnetic field of the cell at the atomic level, you take a cell, a small change in the cellular behavior, it triggers the change in the Bose-Einstein condensate material. So you can magnify that change, the smallest change, way before, beyond a microscope, beyond MRI, beyond everything. Then way before a small change triggering in your body, it can detect the BEC sensors are. So if you build that, they're working on it, BEC sensors. There are particularly 1 in 8 women get because of cancers. It's a very this is a very one thing that if they live long enough, that's a staggering number. So we need to find a cure for this kind of things. So this ultra-sensitive field, you can find the disease detection, any anomalies in the cellular behavior, very first cell itself, they can catch it. Some cell is acting up. That is a power of the BEC, Bose-Einstein condensate. So this is a Bose-Einstein condensate is a tribute to this man. Sorry. There's a tribute to this man, Bose, Satyendranath Bose. He died in 1974. He said that, very interesting. He said, just let me say what he said. You never know until it happens what you will owe to the dead. That's exactly we owe him. He's an extraordinary man. It is died a long time ago, but he gave a wonderful science, a wonderful thing that humanity can be blessed. Thank you for listening. Thank you all. Let me bring Susan Oscar, what she thinks. Okay, Susan, just a minute. Let me.
Okay. So that was like, I'm pretty good at quantum physics. I'm a follower and I enjoy. So I was following pretty good. I get the concept. It's not particle. It's not wave. It's like one. But the question I have is, in order to become that bigger wave that became one, one solid wave of condensate, which isn't solid, or
It's
a gas
ionized.
or a liquid, it's condensate. I get it. I get what it is. But my question to you is, if it has to be to zero or almost zero for it to become that state, my question was, how do we use this in practical application? And then you went and showed us practical application, but I don't understand what's the mechanism
Yeah,
that we're using to
cool it
show
off.
that a cell is out of whack at the smallest level, or for breast detection or whatever.
Very
If
good
it's
question.
this material that's everywhere and it has to
So,
be cold in order to become that state, how do you harness
achieve
it
it.
to use it to detect?
Yeah, that's a very good is a challenge itself. But actually, how they did it is a very interesting. They use the lasers to cool it
Mm.
off. They use a lot of lasers to you cool it off. This all the way. They were not at that time. We didn't know that we can do that with the lasers. Then cool that thing, take the energy away from energy, keep on taking away energy from the atoms. Then eventually, what happens is Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. So you take the temperature away, all the heat away from the atom. What happens? It cannot move anymore. It,
Mm-hmm.
it comes to one standstill in one place. That means you're defying the nature, because when they said that if the velocity is zero, position is zero, that's impossible. Heisenberg said uncertainty principle says that you cannot have both position and velocity. You cannot figure out exactly same time. So Bose-Einstein condensate, it does become, it brings the particles become zero velocity, and then when it's zero, you will catch them in the position. That is a problem. Then what happens? The nature is smarter. That's why it became a wave. You cannot catch me.
So now it's
So
a wave, but now there's another factor. You said it stops light.
it stops like it's a
So
material.
it's on top of all that, it stops light. So I'm
Yes.
still questioning if it stops light. Yes, okay, it takes lasers to I get it. It slows it and stops it. It makes it cold enough. It stops light. How is it captured? How is this captured to be used as a diagnostic tool?
Yeah, still a lot of research. One of the fundamental, it's a lot of research going on. It is not overnight, but they will do eventually. The way our, see, for example, Bose-Einstein condensate exists in our brain. That's what they're
Mm.
thinking, is that in the microtubules in the neurons, it does a different mechanism it uses to can be existing the Bose-Einstein
Oh,
condensate.
so wave recognizes wave is what
Yeah,
you're
it's
saying,
some
basically. And so if there's
microtubule.
something that's stopping the wave in general, it will sense it.
Yeah,
I get it. I get it.
without this cooling off, there is a way to. So it's still a lot of research. It is a very beginning research, but the materials are so exotic. It does a lot of things. We are just it's less than 10, 20 years. So it is a very short period of time in the field of physics. So we have to go a long way before we really come into the commercialization. It is a lot of research going on in the Bose-Einstein condensate. What is this exotic matter that what we can do? It is, some people say maybe Bose-Einstein condensate is inside in front of us, and we are seeing all these things. Is nothing is there. It's just creating an illusion of things are there. So there's
Yeah,
a lot of
they're there. But they're there. We know we have solid, liquid, gas. Now we have condensate. So that's four, where we thought there was three. And
plasma five.
I know that
Plasma is another one.
the BOSON, right? Was that guy's name? Boson. That
Boson,
was
yeah,
the fifth.
Bose. His
Okay,
name is
so
Bose. Yeah.
here we go. Two more than the average bear even knows exists. So
Correct.
once again, Ramana, thank you for expanding my brain cells. I'm
Yeah.
appreciative of
It is
neither
all
particle
my
nor
job
wave,
is
but
to
here I am.
my job is to create that kind of a new. These are tough. The subjects that I talk about is a little complex. It's not a is that counterintuitive. It takes a little bit of a effort. That's why I do my best to present it. And then I wanted to create the curiosity with all the people, nurses, doctors. The curiosity is the stress buster. That is when we all try to learn something that we are going to get benefit out of it. So So that is, these are the things coming up. At least you are aware of what things can, the ECMO. You were talking about the ECMO, for example. That is a very interesting oxygenation of the blood. It's going to be portable. As just in the 100 years ago or 50 years ago, if you tell me that, people laugh at you, but this is a practical thing, right? That is
Let me tell you, Google ECMO and look at the pictures of the teams that are connecting a human to ECMO, and you will be astounded that they are now taking that mechanism and making it transportable. I mean, boom.
it,
But yet 2 minutes ago we were talking about particles and wave that really don't exist until it's almost at 0.000 degrees. And difference between particles and waves, and how multiple large waves become one and they're everywhere. So
yeah.
there's also, there's concepts that are beyond everyday
Eventually, those
thinking.
concepts, once we thought is way up there, they become
And when
real.
those concepts are explored further, then this machine that looks archaic today with all these, pipes and things coming through a human, I think in a matter of not but much time, we'll be in our quantum world solving some of my cardiac arrest woes.
Let me ask you, Susan. The United States is a less advanced country. They have a lot of resources. In other countries, people die with heart attack. There is nothing is there they can do. So they can do certain things. This education can save lives, right? You don't need to have all the resources. You don't need ECMO machines there. They may not afford, but at least they can do compressions and save lives. At least that education they can get it from online now through internet. So your rescue organ can provide that, right?
Yeah, and not just me, of course. I mean, there's just so many resources out there that are free. And like you said, if only you have your hands, and then that's all you have. So it's what it takes. It takes recognize the problem, calling for help, beginning compressions, use your electricity if you have it, and then hope that will maintain your human and or animal until help arrives. So there's many places that have massive resources and places that have none. The bottom line is we work with what you have. So yeah, you can always find me at rescuern.com just to kind of pick my brain on the resources that I can help you with from a community standpoint versus how to best optimize your rescue response in the hospital setting. I can help with either.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Susan. You're always a pleasant to talk with, and thank you so much. You're a wonderful guest. You're a great friend. We talk quite a bit of things. I'm glad. Thank you so much. I'm honored and privileged.
Privilege was mine. Thank you for having me, and thank you for expanding my mind. I love it.
Thank you so much.
We are retelling their stories through our patented designs that can be worn on scrubs, t-shirts, printed on conference bags, and endless other promotional materials. Daily Wear for Medicine is the first ever of its kind.
Yes, I'm done.